welcome back to another episode of HR Unlocked the podcast. I'm AJ.
I'm Abby.
And welcome to work. Thank you so much for coming in.
And being on time.
For being on time. You know,
Yeah.
I think she was on time. I was on time as always.
Right.
And you were on time.
Mm-hmm.
You're here for a reason. This is not I'm not preaching to you because I got my finger at you and I'm just like, yes, Lord save you.
It's an appreciative finger. We're saying we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't already, go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and like it. But share it with your friends.
Give us 5 stars. Or is it 5 stars? Or is it?
Well,
give us the highest rating possible.
Leave us a comment. Leave us a review. All the good things that a listener and a viewer and an employee does. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. All right. Let's get it going. I'm ready. All
right. Well, until next week. All right. So I got a question.
Yeah.
What are you annoyed with this week?
So we are in the season at my company where we do shutdowns because it's the automotive industry.
Yeah.
And employees complaining that they don't want to use vacation during that shutdown. And it's something that we do every year. Most of our employees that we have been at the company 2-3 years. So they know very, very well that it's our requirement that they at least use 2 days of vacation during shutdown.
Every year.
And they say, I don't want to use it. I'm not doing it.
They say, I don't want it. Yeah.
So it's just a lot of questions. Oh, is there any way that I can come in and work? Or are we doing this? Are we doing that? Believe me, I want y'all to work, but there's none available.
Yeah.
So that's what annoys me this week. How about you?
Let me tell you, reply all. Stop. Hello. Somebody. Stop replying all to emails and saying, thank you.
Yes. Please. Reply to the individual.
If Abby sends the email out to a group, a team, a group of people, whatever, and she gives direction or she says, great job on this, you don't have to say thank you.
Yeah.
We, the other people in the group, don't want to read that. We don't want to see it. We don't want an extra email coming to our inbox.
Yes, it clogs our inbox. It really does.
Stop replying to all.
I know. And especially,
I am sick of it.
Especially for me, sometimes I'll send like generic email. Well, not generic, but like I'll send things that are like, Happy Mother's Day or somebody's birthday. And then someone's like, Happy birthday or, Happy Mother's Day to all. And I'm like, this was just supposed to be.
I've already said it.
Yeah.
You don't have to repeat what I said. I'm stressed out thinking about it.
And I used to think it was something that was only amongst certain generations. It's not.
Oh, no.
It's not a generational
Everybody.
thing. They just do it.
Now, I will say some people, they don't. They'll reply to the individual who sent the email only. Shout out to you guys because you are
doing the right thing.
You get promoted. But the ones who reply to all, why?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, then and other people will then I think take that as like a notion to be like, ooh, I can do that too. And then they'll reply to all too. And it just starts the domino effect.
Don't do it.
Don't. Let's not.
Sorry.
That was great.
I didn't mean to raise my voice in the meeting. But employees, don't do it. Just stop it.
But I'm glad you brought that up because it's something that annoys me as well.
Yeah.
Deeply. But
because why?
No reason. They're bored, I guess.
I guess they didn't have any other emails to send.
I know.
Employees, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
We sometimes traffic in petty grievances. Sometimes we have to get these things out because, why not? I'm sure all of you have some type of annoyance or grievance or you're sick of something. And we're your outlet. In the comments, let us know. What are you sick of this week? That'll be great.
Absolutely. We'd love to discuss it.
Yeah. Maybe we can use some of yours we didn't even think about. So let us know.
For sure. So I guess it kind of transitions us to our topic of the day.
Okay. Woo, woo.
So, have you heard of the term consciously unbossing?
I don't think so. Explain.
So it's new.
Okay.
It's new. I heard about it recently, but it's.
Excuse me. Are you saying I'm old? That I haven't heard?
No, because I'm old too. There's certain lingo. I'm like, what is that?
Right.
I don't know what that is. So no. I heard it recently. But it's something, once I explain it, it's something that has existed for quite some time.
Okay.
And it's essentially employees are taking the executive decision of not pursuing the management track.
Okay.
And not,
they just want to come to work, do their job, and go home.
yes, or and even if they are in a management position, not leading in the old school way. So taking on a new era, so to speak, of leadership.
Yeah.
So I guess let's unpack the first part of employees not wanting to take the leadership or management track.
Yeah.
I've heard it so many times of just like, I want to be the highly paid engineer. I don't want to deal with managing associates, managing their performance, their issues, because I feel like I'm better suited by just honing in and being the busy bee.
Yeah.
Which I understand, but it also leads to another question of, do you think it's because they're scared? They're scared of taking on the I mean, I can understand maybe it is they're scared of taking on the responsibility, but also, do you think that companies are also just not equipping people? So they've seen how much managers have to deal with, and they're like, I'm not equipped for this. Y'all are just gonna throw me to the wolves, and I'm not gonna be ready.
Yeah. So is it organizations equipping or training, or they see their bosses or their managers or their leaders? I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Could they be stressed? Could it be the workload? Could it be they're just not friendly? Could it be they see the politics sometimes that are in these type of roles and they're just like, no? Or they're just not leadership material.
Right.
But sometimes they are, because we see it. Right? We see how they interact with their teams. We see how they take responsibility, take control, be proactive. But some of them just don't want to be.
They don't want the title.
Yeah.
And it's twofold, right? Like, yes, it is a company's responsibility to ensure that somebody is well prepared to take on management responsibilities. Yeah. I've worked at a lot of organizations where they're not. They kind of put people in positions and they're like, you're really, really good at your job. Therefore, take on these additional tasks. And they're not necessarily paying attention to the person's personality, not really allowing them to develop a leadership style. So pretty much by default, when someone doesn't have a leadership style, they default to authoritarian, because it's what they grew up with, right? You think of maybe a mean teacher you had, or, you know, somebody in your life that the only way that they were listened to is because they led by force or their loud voice. And that's not effective, because nowadays people, you know, don't respond to it.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to kind of break that down and to understand, like, how many people do we have possibly falling through the cracks? How many potentially great leaders are consciously embossing and choosing that path because we're just not developing them?
Yep. But let's say we give them all the tools. We have a great program. Do we, and we want to promote, let's say we want to promote you. You've been doing a great job. You've showed all the cues and clues and things that we want in a leader. You're exceptional and you're perfect almost. And we come to you and say, Abby, we want to promote you to director. And you say, thanks, but no thanks. How do you recommend for employees and leaders, how do we react? Like, take it from Abby perspective. Right. We just promoted you, or we want to promote you. Your response is no.
Right.
Why first? Why is it no? In this particular scenario, and then from the manager or the HR person, or both, how do we react? Like, what do you want us to say at that point?
Well, I think number one is taking feedback to drive change. A promotion or given the ability to manage others, it is a big responsibility, right? So I think number one is being calm, because ultimately every position that is offered has the potential to be denied or rejected. Sometimes it cannot be because of it's a management track. Maybe it's compensation. Maybe it's life circumstance, right? So I think for me, whenever somebody declines, I use that as my cue to say, okay, I need to investigate, take that knowledge and figure out why. So sometimes employees will tell you things and you can use that to infer a little bit about the organization. So if they tell you, well, like, I see that this person struggles a lot with XYZ,
Mhm.
and I've seen multiple people come through this role. So I'm concerned about taking on that responsibility and potentially being put in the same situation. So
Mhm.
that leads me to believe, okay, so we've had some turnover in this role. Other employees are being cued in that we're not preparing them correctly and we're putting too much responsibility on them. So, like, how can I take back that feedback
Mhm.
and drive change moving forward?
We take a step back as leadership and be like, wow, okay, Abby has a good point.
Yeah,
We got to circle back and reevaluate.
right. And the other thing is, too, let's say you are at an amazing organization that does all those things. Like you said, great leadership training, does everything to ensure when people are in a position, restarting their 30, 60, 90, so that they know, like, hey, these are the things that you need to be covered. Are you okay? Let's have these one-on-ones. Make sure your voice is heard. Make sure you have the support, everything that you need. So even when that's completed, then what, where's the gap? Like, we still need to figure out, is that person not taking the role because they feel like they could have another avenue to growth? Because that's so important. I think that when we are, as HR professionals, we are looking at promoting anybody, we need to do a competency assessment on them to ensure, where are they? Are they within their position? Are they operating outside of their position? Are they taking on other tasks? Where do they lie in terms of their current role? And where are their avenues of growth?
Yeah. And before, great points. And I 100% agree. But maybe before we get to that, we need to ask them, what do you want to do next? Like,
True.
maybe you don't want to be a director. Maybe you want to pivot into recruiting, which I don't know why you would do that, but maybe you want to pivot into recruiting or total
finance
rewards
or something.
finance,
You never know.
benefits. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. No, that's fair.
Yeah, trying to find out that person's path. Like, what are your career goals?
Yeah.
What is their growth ability, right? Like, what does that look like for the individual?
Yeah.
And yeah, as you mentioned, and sometimes people will say, well, I want to be a high earner.
Mhm.
And sometimes you have to be realistic and let them know these are the avenues. I know most organizations have this. You guys have pay scales and bands and maximums and minimums.
Yep.
And if you want to continue to be a quality engineer level 1 at this current plant, you're approaching your maximum.
Yeah.
So these are the avenues for you to continue to grow. Because sometimes I think people will say, oh, okay, I'm glad with just staying an engineer and I just want to be a highly paid engineer. But they get frustrated when they're only getting a 2% raise every year or a 3% raise every year.
Yeah. There's companies that got to do better with that.
Agreed.
Okay. So my last thing on that is really, the organizations have done everything right.
Mhm.
And then the associate, the employee, the team member says, nope, I'm good.
Yeah.
What do we do? We've done everything right. Do we just okay and go on the outside?
No, I think
Do we move on to somebody else? Like, what is our response at that point?
so. I feel like in that situation, of course, you can never force anybody. So if it's an absolute no, then we say, hey, listen, we've given you this opportunity, and we still do need the position filled. So we're going to look into other candidates. But I think it echoes back to what I was saying previously of, what is your career goals?
Yep.
We're not going to forget about you.
Right.
Whether that be, hey, I'm not going to go and take a manager position right now because I have plans to get my master's and I don't think I can juggle both.
Yep.
But what is your individual development plan going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Because, maybe some people are just going to be happy being in the same position for, 20 years and staying there and only getting merit increases year to year. A lot of people are not, because contrary to popular belief, people enjoy a challenge. They want to feel fulfilled in their everyday work.
Absolutely.
So I think, that doesn't mean forget that associate. No, it means, yes, we have a business to run and we need to fill that role. So we're going to look into other candidates, but we haven't forgotten about you.
Yep.
We want to know, what does your future goals look like?
What do you actually desire? You want to stay here, obviously, you're doing the work. what do you want to do? I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a good question for leaders to ask, especially they're high performing or they're hypos is what we like to call them. Like we need to understand what they want to do
Right.
because to your point, we can't force them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can beg them, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the answer's still no.
Yeah.
I think leaders, employees, I think we need to ask those questions. Ask the what is your career goals? What do you want to do? To echo Abby,
Mm-hmm.
is director your track? Do you want to go another route? I mean, I think there should be options, and you mentioned this on a few other episodes. Is succession planning, and I've said this before. Who's ready to take your role when it's time for you to get promoted? And if that's not the person, if the person you want isn't the person, either you need to find somebody else, or you have to go on the outside, but you have to respect the fact that
Right.
I don't want that role, right? Um, and sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, especially when there's somebody that you really like and you like this is the perfect person,
Yeah.
but it's like okay,
And they're
yeah, I
like, oh,
respect it.
thanks.
Yeah,
Next.
yeah, right.
Next.
Thanks so much. I'm gonna get back to work.
And I think that leads to the other side of the conversation we were talking about initially when the episode started was decentralized leadership. Managers, I think, I think in general we're used to a certain type of management style.
Yeah.
And understanding that everybody, of course, you have your company's policies and standards that must be adhered to, but putting your spin on it, you know, putting your personal mark on it.
Yeah.
I think for me, I had always worked with, I mean, maybe not always, but a lot in my career, I worked with people who were much older and they had that old school approach to HR. They were just paper pushers in the pantsuits and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very, very just rigid in a lot of ways. And so for me, it's so important to be the type of HR professional that people can talk to openly and they don't feel scared of. I don't want to be seen as the police. I mean, I keep, bowl of candy in my office. I'm like, here's some snacks. Like, come and talk to me because that's what I'm here for. So much of my job is just having that open interaction with others.
Yeah.
So I could have said when I went into HR, this is the type of HR person I have to be, so I'm done with HR.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I was like, no, I don't have to be that. I can still be knowledgeable, professional, data driven, analytical, all these awesome things.
And fun.
But I can still be Abby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can still bring a little bit of me to the table, and that mark, that fingerprint makes a difference, right? And it's the same with management. I think people are so ingrained to see management as being such this very strict type of role that it can only go a certain way.
Yeah.
And it put your spin on it.
Yeah. And
of course, adhere to your policies.
right.
Okay. But you can put your spin
Good
on
disclaimer.
it.
And I keep saying this, and we really got to get her back here. Reunita, she talked about bringing your whole self to work because we do it. I mean, the notion of leave it at the door, I don't know if it's realistic. And she mentioned it, so we got to get her back to talk about that. Maybe we get her back next month.
I would love that. I would love to, because I think I was out during that time when she came on.
Yeah, you were getting married and stuff. So yeah, employees, thanks so much for being here. This was a very informative episode. I think if you want to be promoted, I think takeaways. If you want to be promoted, work hard, do your best, go above and beyond sometimes. Show your leadership that you can do it, you got it. Be a good employee, good as self. But if you don't want to be promoted, still do your job, still do the best. But in your mind, do a self-examination and say, okay, what do I want? What do I want out of this organization? Where do I see myself in 3, 5, 7, 10 years? And craft a plan. You don't necessarily have to take a promotion, but you should want better for yourself. Whatever it looks like for you, do you.
Mm-hmm. And understanding too, management can look different.
Absolutely.
We're approaching an age where things change, and we just have to be flexible and adapt to that change as it happens. Don't block your blessings, right? Again, also respect your boundaries and what you want for yourself. But as you said, just make sure that you're making that assessment and you're truly understanding what it means.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, employees, thank you so much for being here. We always enjoy you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for viewing, listening, being an active participant in our podcast. Leave some comments, some reviews, send us questions, give us feedback. Anything else?
no, I think we're good. Thank you guys so much again. We appreciate it. And until our next meeting.
Let's have a great week.